special salute to our veterans as well as our medical personnel. I'm inviting and welcoming and so glad to have with us Chief Petty Officer Michelle Ashton, who is a career naval officer who is also one of my very favorite cousins. So we welcome her today. So
Thank you.
Shelley, thank you for being with us. The reason we thought of you with this series is because, again, we are saluting both those who have served in our nation's military, but also those who are who work in medicine, and you do both. So
Yes.
I want to take it back to the very beginning when you enlisted. You were probably what, 19 years old, 20 years old back then?
Yes, I was 20 years old, just coming out of a couple years of college, and wanted to kind of do something different. So I decided to join the Navy, and decided to go into the hospital corps, which is our enlisted medical side of the Navy.
So what made you, when you're in the recruiter's office, think, I want to go to the medical corps? Is that something that you'd been interested in while you were in college, or was it just a stroke of serendipity? How did that come about?
Yeah, I think it was a little bit of both. I think there's a lot of nurses in my family, so I had been kind of exposed to the medical part of it, but I was also interested in it as well. Kind of growing up, I was the one that kind of liked all the blood and guts and things like that, and would take care of people when they were hurt. So kind of natural feel for me. So I kind of gravitated to that when they offered that to me.
So talk for a moment about what have been some of your favorite postings in your career, some of the things that you have absolutely loved the most in your job.
Well, my specialty is in aviation medicine, so I have the privilege of taking care of our pilots and air crewmen, and being stationed on the carriers has probably been my favorite part. Getting to travel the world. I spent a lot of time up on the flight deck, which is probably what's kept me around for so long. Getting to be up there around the jets and the noise and all of that has been really fascinating. And being in aviation medicine, I also had the honor of serving with the Blue Angels, which was probably the highlight of my career, serving with that prestigious group. So probably my favorite part, yeah, I think probably being with the Blues. Yep.
So this week we're also looking at the scripture from Matthew about Jesus telling us that which we do to the least of these, so also we do to him. And certainly you have done amazing work both with the Blue Angels, and then you were also with Marine One, the President's helicopter detail. So, those are very prestigious people, but you've also come into encounters with some of what we'd call the least of these, maybe people that have been the enemy or people you haven't wanted to care for, but yet you're called to do that in your profession. So do you have any special stories you'd share about when you've been confronted with having to care for someone maybe you would have considered not to be deserving even of medical attention?
Yes, I absolutely do have a story that would pertain to that particular question. A few years ago, you may remember the story of the 4 Americans that were taken hostage on their own sailing vessel by Somali pirates. That happened during my deployment back in 2011. After, unfortunately, the Americans had been killed by the pirates, we had to bring them on board and care for them as well. And that was very, very difficult. You had to kind of remember the oath that you took to help all human beings, regardless of where they come from and what they may have done. So that was definitely a very trying time. I believe there were 14 of them in which we were, they were malnourished. Obviously, they had been out to sea for a long time and had several injuries, in which we were told to take care of them. So that was very difficult, I believe. Probably one of the most difficult times I've had being a medical provider and caring for someone that, probably didn't really want to care for. But, it goes back to being a human being and taking care of people, and let the justice system take care of the rest. So probably my most difficult time, yes.
Well, and I can certainly see that that is definitely a story that will mark all of the years that you served. And I want to say, did you ever imagine when you enlisted those years ago that you would spend your entire career with the Navy?
No, definitely not. My original enlistment was for 6 years. I was kind of at a place in my life where I didn't know what I wanted to do with myself. So I kind of decided to try something new, and I did that first deployment on board the Nimitz back in '95. And man, I loved it, and it was one of those things where it just kind of happened. I wasn't planning on making it a life career, and I just fell in love with the work. I fell in love with the aviation community, and I've been doing it for 21 years. So I'm very happy with where I'm at right now. Kind of winding down my career now, and looking at what I'm going to be doing in the future. But it's been a wild ride for sure.
So the last thing I'm going to finish with is, if you have, well, what is the one piece of advice you give for those who are first coming into this work that you do? What's the first thing you tell them?
Well, I think probably the biggest thing is to just remember that people are human. You're going to encounter all kinds of different people that come from different backgrounds, different walks of life. To have patience with people. You and I, fortunately, were raised in a strong Christian faith. We have strong female leaders in our family, and so that has definitely helped me going forward. So I try to encourage people to, remember to take care of those around you, take care of yourself, and just be there for each other, because I think that's very important in the beginning.
Well, we thank you, Shelley, for sharing some of your memories with us and some of the highlights of your career. And again, we salute you and we thank you for the work that you're doing for our country, and for the way that you witness to what Christ has done in your life, just in the way that you care for the other officers that you encounter. So thank you for being with us today, and blessings to you in the rest of your career and in all that you do.
Thank you so much. It was absolutely my pleasure, and much love to you and John and what you guys are doing with your congregation. And I need to make it up to your church sometime.
Definitely.
I haven't been up there to see it yet, so we'll have to do that soon.
All right. Well, thank you.